welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining us on this cool, chilly October afternoon here in Saskatchewan. We have lots to get into. This was a busy weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, 12 games total, and we will also be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Humboldt Broncos, Scott Barney, who is also now the new head coach of Team Canada West for the 2023 World Junior A Challenge. But before we get into it, we have to give a big shout out to all of our great sponsors here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Of course, this show and all of our shows here at the SJHL are presented by our good friends at UPL, but also a lot of great other sponsors: Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western Nutrient, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thank you so much for your support. Let's bring in our co-hosts. It's Jamie, it's Rory. Fellas, how are we doing? How was your weekend?
Great weekend. Two incredible games that I got to witness between Humboldt and Battleford. We will definitely talk about those, but I think leading it off is the hottest team on the weekend, the Notre Dame Hounds.
Yeah,
3 straight wins this
Neugsy, I got to say, before Neugsy comments about it, Neugsy walked into the studio today with a little bit of pep in his step. He's feeling pretty good today, right, Neugs?
Yeah, I know. It's nice to call a few wins. You know what? I think the guys really found a way and dug deep. So good for the Hounds boys, and I think it's better for the whole league to have 12 teams that are all very competitive and doing well. It doesn't look good to have a team at the bottom that's in a million. So I think it's good for the whole league.
Very well said. All right, let's recap the weekend it was. Let's pull up the scoreboards. Let's start with Friday. 5 games on tap Friday in the SJHL. Flin Flon with a big 8-2 win over Kindersley. Weyburn snapping a 5-game losing streak, winning 6-2 over Nipawin. Notre Dame winning 5-4 over Estevan in Carlisle. And then a pair of shootouts, Melfort 5-4 over LaRange, Humboldt 2-1 over Battlefords. And then another 5 games on Saturday. Flin Flon sweeping the 2 games against the Kindersley Clippers, winning a much closer one, 4-3. Weyburn 5-4 over Yorkton. 2 more shootouts. 2-1 Nipawin over Estevan, 2-1 Battlefords over Humboldt, and Melville 4-3 over Melfort. 5 1-goal games on Saturday. And then, of course, the weekend wrapped up yesterday with a pair of games. The Notre Dame Hounds winning 4-3 over the Nipawin Hawks, and then LaRange winning 4-2 over the Kindersley Clippers. And, of course, all of our scoreboards and our look-backs are presented by our good friends at Sask Lotteries. We have to start with the Notre Dame Hounds. 3 wins this past week. They swept their week, Neugsy, and it seems like the addition of Cole Wyron has sparked this team this week, and they played very well.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is you talk about a lineup. You usually start at the very top with having a first line that you can kind of count on to generate some offense. We start with back end, but it's important to have a first line to anchor your roster. And Cole Wyron, Carson Bayless, and Mateo Speranza together have really found chemistry. They combined for 16 points over those 3 games. It was a whole team effort. All 3 of those games, wins in Weyburn, not an easy place to go. In Carlisle, which was supposedly a home game, a neutral site game, but it was bumping and very pro Estevan. Jeromy, you did color for me there, so you were there and you knew what that one was all about. And then just a kind of a gutsy win. I think the effort from Nipawin was tremendous throughout this game too, given that they had played to 3-3, and we'll talk about Nipawin, I guess, a little bit more. But back on track, I guess, Notre Dame. You talk about the beginning of a season. If you're Brett Pilkington and the Hounds coaching staff, you have plans, and usually every team has their plans, and some of them go right and some of them don't. 0 plans went well for Notre Dame in the first start of the season, and some of it kind of finally worked out, and getting Cole Wyron in there, getting Ashton Breyer in there from Lloydminster and the AJ, he was really, really good too. And Johan Tremblay-Cow was able to show what he can do, because the team played much better defensively in front of him. If you're facing, 25, 30, 35 shots versus 50 shots, Jeromy, as an old goalie, it's a big difference, right? Like, that's just a little bit more energy that you have to make those saves late in the game. And Johan was awesome all 3 games. So, the Hounds guys got what they deserved, and 3 wins, and onward and upward. And as I said right before there, good for the league not to have any team that's 0 and whatever, because it's a bad look.
That's where I want to kind of piggyback on, because we do say it's a long season. We do say the parity will really never take you out of a playoff picture until maybe Christmas, right? And But if you look at it, if you start the season 0-10, right, and then go 500 the rest of the way, you're a 23-33 hockey team in a 56-game schedule. That is not a playoff team.
Right.
And it's really hard to dig yourself out of an 0-10 hole, which is where the Notre Dame Hounds were heading. They were 0-9. So then they go up and they beat Weyburn, who is on a little bit of a skid. They beat Nipawin and they beat Estevan. These are three really tough teams to take on for the Notre Dame Hounds. So I think this is huge for their confidence. And when you look at the Hounds, they don't have a superstar that is going to be able to win you a game when all four lines aren't going. They're going to need all four lines to be going majority basis through 60 minutes. And you look at those two games this weekend, they had 4 different goal scorers in both games. They had 9 different point getters in the first game, 8 different point getters in the second game. So it was scoring by committee, and that's how Notre Dame's going to have to play. Really love to see them buy in, and I love it for the league, as Nugsy said, because now you're having them, look at them, 2 points out of a playoff spot. I know it's games in hand, but it's 2 points out of a playoff spot right now when it was looking bleak, to say it, less politely, I guess, but it was 0-9 start. So 3 wins is going to help with confidence, and I'm happy to see that.
Well, let's pull up the standings. If we have the graphic ready, let's show what 1 week can make a difference. And all of a sudden, like Rory touched on, is 3 straight wins by the Notre Dame Hounds. And I know we're now exactly pretty much a month into this season, but now coming up with a good weekend, you could potentially put yourself in a playoff spot.
Yeah, look at that, 8-12, all on 3 wins. And that's, the difference a week can make, and certainly this was Notre Dame's week, and they're obviously going to need to have a bunch more to keep pace. But the thing too is, and everybody has injury excuses and difficult things happen, adversity. The Hounds, we've talked about it, had an insane schedule to start the year. 7 of 9 against the top 3 teams in the league, probably between Flin Flon, Melfort, and Humboldt, and 5 of those 7 on the road. And again, you don't account for getting the fact that they were outclassed seriously in a bunch of those games. But there's also something to be said for starting a game and believing that you have a chance to win it, that you have a chance to get something from it. And obviously the habits, the good things that the Hounds did will give them that confidence moving forward, that they know what that looks like. Getting a guy like Cole Wyron in, getting an Ashton Breyer in, getting Rocky Bird back healthy, getting Cypress Smith-Davis back healthy, getting Carson Bayless fully healthy. Like, the list goes on and on and on. This team can finally show what they can do. They get their head coach back from the WHL Cup, which I'll talk about in Nugs and Notes a little bit later.
Good tease.
But good, thank you. But good weekend for the Hounds Junior A, and they got to keep getting better from here.
Just to get an insight as well, because you're with the team so much, an 0-9 start is not something easy to try and overcome, but it seems that the belief was never lost in the dressing room.
No, absolutely. Great point. And the guys, the leadership group, there are some great leaders with and without letters in this team. Carson Bayless, I think, has been a terrific captain. Smith Davis, Vinny Palmerine, Dave Sato, kind of the list goes on and on. But then you look at the attitudes of younger guys like Cooper Fredericks, who scored the game winner there against Nipawin in the 3rd period. And McLean Cooney even doesn't play big minutes, but just cheering the guys on. Great point, Rory. Like, teams could fall apart. Guys could start asking for trades and say, I want to leave and I want to quit. Blaming each other and coming apart at the seams. And they stuck together. They stuck with the program and found a way to get back on track. And again, hopefully for them and for the league, they continue to improve, because they can't just stick and be happy with 3 wins, because it's nice to be 3-9 as opposed to 0-12.
Correct.
Obviously, I'm not great at math, but still 3-9 is somewhere to work up from. Still.
Yeah. Considering where they were, it's a step definitely in the right direction. Well, let's segue to a team that Notre Dame beat on Wednesday, that being the Weyburn Red Wings. So that game, that was their 5th straight loss. But then they come back, impressive win at home, 6-2 over Nipawin, and then a 5-4 win over Yorkton. Seems like Weyburn's gotten right back on track after a tough 5-game stretch.
Yeah, it's really good to see them snap that 5-game winning streak. You see guys like Max Manette step up, 8 points or whatever it was. Tyler Teasdale on the point. Getting Lucas Jeffries back on the point is a really great acquisition. When you look at the Weyburn Red Wings, hey, they're in 4th place. They're happy right now. They're sitting in a spot that, in a few months' time will be a home ice playoff spot. But when you dive deeper into who they've played, they're falling a little short against the elite teams, which is something to build upon again for the Weyburn Red Wings. Now, they're not falling drastically short. They've had 1-goal games, twice against Melfort and once against Flin Flon. So they're right there. The only outlier being the 10-1 loss to Humboldt. But you got to beat who's in front of you, and Weyburn's doing a really good job when they're going up against teams that are below them in the standings to pick up 2 points on a regular basis. Right. Wins against Estevan, wins against Yorkton, wins against Kindersley, Notre Dame even a win, although they lost this week. But that is kind of where I would like to see them build upon is let's see if they can break a couple wins against the teams that we have, kind of pulled up into the higher echelon of the SJHL standings.
Yeah, well, great point. Like Weyburn had lost 5 in a row, as you mentioned there, coming to this weekend. And again, how do you respond? How do you jump back? And we talked about Notre Dame putting together, that big line with Bayless and Wyron and Speranza and getting great chemistry. Well, Cody Mapes kind of did the same thing, right? He got Max Minetti, put him with Jerome Maharaj and Jackson Ruthven. And those guys absolutely lit it up together this weekend. They combined for 14 points over 2 games, which is pretty good. Again, bad at math, but that's pretty good. Put up, 11 goals over 2 games against Nipwood and Yorkton, 2 teams that we think of as being pretty good defensively, like not easy to score on. So especially in Yorkton for the Terriers. And again, another 1-goal game between Weyburn and Yorkton. It seems like that's been sort of every time they play each other this year. It's a real tight one down to the wire, and find a way to score a few more goals. We talk about how good Jerome Maharaj has been, but then you add in Max Manette and Jeromy. You and I saw how good he was in Weyburn on Wednesday, winning every face-off. He is as good as anybody. Is Max Manette on the dot? Liked him a lot when he first came from Canmore in the AJ2, and another former AJ guy in Jackson Ruthven, another former AJ guy in Jerome Maharaj. Cody Mapes has found some good gold with those 3 guys together.
Yeah, and they're, like you said, putting the 3 of them together, because I know we had talked about after the game Wednesday between Notre Dame and Weyburn, and speaking with our friend and colleague Nick Nielsen, they were not very happy with how they played on Wednesday night. All right, Rory, Battleford Humboldt, pair of games this weekend, 2-1 shootouts, each team getting a victory. And I know we were talking about it before the show, but 2 really great hockey games.
Yeah. Before I get into that, I just saw a couple comments come up. So if anyone's watching and they do have some insight or some questions, we always love to see them
keep asking,
pop up and ask away. We can try to answer them and just give us your thoughts about what you saw on the weekend.
And our boss, one of our bosses, Paul Drouin. Hello.
There it is. Hello.
There it is.
You're high.
Lowercase too. Lowercase. Just
that's a power move.
Hello.
It was 2 really good games of hockey.
Yeah.
Beautifully officiated, first of all, and well executed by both the Battlefords and the Humboldt Broncos. Fast pace, not a lot of whistles, skating 10 out of 10, goaltending 10 out of 10, playoff-like atmospheres in both the ACC and the EPA, and playoff-like style on the ice. When I talked to Gary Childerhose afterwards, he's like, you guys elevated our game, and I thought the same for the Broncos. I thought the North Stars elevated the Broncos game. It was tough to find anything, but when there was, Ben Motu and Justin Merrick played out of their minds. Needed 2 identical 2-1 shootouts. The first time, Motu shut down all North Stars shooters. The second time, Merrick shut down all 3 Broncos shooters. So this is the series that now fans and these 2 teams are going to circle on the calendar for the next 4 games. It was awesome. It was just awesome hockey played. For the Broncos, I think they're anticipating hopefully getting Van Blaerkom and Weigel back into the lineup, because a team that's averaging, 5.7 goals per game averaged only 1 in both games.
Right.
And they're going to need to find some scoring, but that's a credit to the North Stars. Their defense, Carson Olsen and Tanner Gold, is a really great pairing, a leader in Gold and a rookie in Olsen. And getting Justin Merrick back, he might now be the best goalie in the league. And if he's in the net, they can beat any of the 11 other teams. He's really good.
Well, Justin Merrick, we had that buy it and sell it, right? Of how many shutouts? Was it +5 or something like that? Well, Justin Merrick has 2 shutouts in 3 wins already, and 5 games played, 5 goals against. Like, he's having the time, .971 save percentage. And just a quick thought about Bradley Blake, too, scoring a beautiful goal in the shootout. Last year, again, for a guy who we all knew, and I think everybody in our league knows he can play. But again, he was kind of not buried, but he was trying to figure out what his role was there in Battlefords with that super team, with that top line, and lots and lots of depth. He could have quit. He could have said, "Give me a better role," and gone to the Braden Klamosko's office and say, trade me away. Like, I want to be a first liner. But he said, no, you know what? I'm gonna find my spot. I'm gonna get my time. And Brad Blake, great Newfoundland kid. I heard his grandmother knit Marty Martinson some mitts that were really nice too.
Wow.
And so there you go. Got all of those people from Newfoundland, and he looks like he's having a terrific year for Battleford so far.
Well, and even speaking with Braden Klamosko prior to the season, there is something to be said with loyalty with the players coming back to give them some new opportunities that they didn't get last year because of how good that team was. And as a result, Bradley Blake is already shining this year, getting more of an opportunity compared to last season.
100%. And this team can skate. That's the first thing that I took away from it. I was always wondering the last 2 weeks, what's their identity, right? Because they've been a 500 team. They haven't been good in the first period. That was not them last year. They've struggled against teams that you expect them to beat. They've beaten teams that, maybe they seem overmatched this year.
Sure.
But they can skate. And I think after talking to Gary, their assistant coach, this is the style that they want to play every time. And they're not the Battlefords of last year. Yes, they have returning players, but now those returning players are starting to get the spotlight and get the opportunity to become leaders on this team. And if they play like that, that is a North Stars team that's not going to be in 6th place. They're going to be in 3rd or 2nd place in the league. They're very, very good when they skate.
I mean, that's been them every single year that Braden
It seems that they've kind of got away with it to start the year, which is why I didn't know what their identity was. But that was the game those were the games that I expect to see out of the North Stars. It was great play.
And there has been some tinkering, like with their lineup, and Braden Klamosko and his staff have, Wiley Riendo, they've evaluated and got some guys out. And like, honestly, if you can't skate, you can't play for the Battleford North Stars. I'm sorry. Like, that's just the bottom line. Like, so you're right. Like, they are becoming a team that's more system than superstar. Maybe they had a lot of superstars last year. They were obviously good system. They were second in Canada, period. So they clearly had it all together last year. But again, great points, Rory. Their identity of skating is still going to be the same way it is. And Braden Klamosko can coach me through a wall any day of the week. I'll bash my head through a brick wall for that, man. And I'm sure his players feel the same way.
All right, let's continue to move up north, and we got to talk about the first place Flin Flon Bombers. Another pair of wins at home at the Whitney Forum over the Kindersley Clippers. Two very different hockey games. Obviously, the first game being a bit of a blowout, but then a much closer game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about how good the North Stars were last year. Scored 284 goals. Flin Flon's on pace for 331, which is an absolutely insane offensive rate. We talk about, I said on Notre Dame, there isn't a guy who can kind of win a game single-handedly. Flin Flon seems to have 8 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy what they're doing right now just in terms of offensive production. And right now, there's no stopping that freight train. They've won 10 in a row. They haven't lost in regulation yet. Only 2 losses, but they've picked up a point in both those. A defenseman is leading the league in scoring, and Noah Houle. It is all systems a go for the Flin Flon Bombers. You don't want to go up against them right now.
No, you don't. And I also got to shout out Cody Jamin specifically, but also the Kindersley Clippers. I mean, that second game could have also been, off the rails for Kindersley too without Cody Jamin. And, in the end, the Flin Flon Bombers won the game only 4-3. So, I think Cody Jamin faced 51 shots in that game, and he was terrific in that effort. None of the goals were bad ones by any stretch. And obviously there was that dramatic fight. I think we might get to that. Okay, I don't want to step on any
That's
toes
okay. That's
here.
a good segue there, Nugsy, because there was something that happened in the Friday night game that we have to get to. It is the Tourism Saskatchewan highlight from the weekend, something that doesn't happen very often. So let's have a look.
The two Furlingers are mixing it up here with Piccinino and Lees.
Yeah, I did.
Look at this. Kenny Morcourt's come over and him and Falk gonna get at her.
Kenny's gonna get a penalty here. Yeah, Kenny got a goalie fight.
They gotta be kidding me.
And just to our good friend and our colleague, Rob Hart, up at the Whitney Forum, longtime play-by-play voice of the Flin Flon Bombers. He's seen a lot in his time calling for the Flin Flon Bombers, and you could just see how surprised he was to see that. And like we said, obviously we're not condoning fighting or anything like that and promoting it, but it's something so rare that happened on Friday. It went viral. If you haven't seen it, if you didn't see it on the weekend, but It's something we had to show and something to talk about.
Yeah, 100%. You don't see goalie fights all the time. You don't want to see them. Your
No.
goalie is arguably your most important person on your team, right? and
After broadcaster.
The fans, yeah. The fans loved it.
Especially gluten-free ones.
And you know what? The league, there's suspensions from it. Like,
Yeah,
the
of course.
goalies
Yeah,
understand that, if you cross the red line, it's additional games. If you
100%.
remove your helmet, it's additional games. And I think Marquardt got 5 and Falk got 3. So it's hefty ramifications coming from it, which is how it's always going to be. Yep. You won't see it often. And no, we're not promoting it, but I mean, it's unique. And those two teams were going back and forth on a hard-fought weekend series. So it was, the fans loved it, which, and when you want as many butts in the seat for it to happen one time, I'm not against it. But, yeah, you see the ramifications. So goalies know that.
Well, now they know. If they didn't know before, now they know.
You don't want to miss 5 games, especially if you're a bona fide starter. It hurts your team. So, yeah.
But, I mean, to that point, Rory, both of these guys have other goalies.
100%,
the other goalie on their
100%,
team
100%.
can carry that load. Obviously, Harmon Laser-Hume is the 1A. If it's a 1A, 1B in Flin Flon, probably a bit more 1-2, though, as we talked about, Mike Reagan does like Kenneth Marquardt quite a lot. And obviously, between Cody Jamin and Logan Falk, Kindersley can trust both of them. So, to your point, Rory, like, they weren't hurting their team the same way that it would be some other teams. But that being said, hockey's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Let's have a little fun. I'm sure those guys had a little fun. Nobody got hurt, as far as we know, which is the number one thing I want to know. And there you go, a little excitement. And you saw Kenneth Marquardt getting the Whitney Forum Zoo going bananas. I'm sure Jacob Faith, who's sitting right there, probably was going bananas too. And he's giving us a little nod. So, hey, there you go, a little bit of fun.
I do want to just put a point. Were you going to continue with Flin Flon or on the Kindersley Clippers side of it?
I was going to move to Kindersley.
Yeah, I just don't want them to get deterred at all starting 3-6 because we expected Kindersley to really push for not only a playoff spot but higher up into the standings. Look at who they've faced. The last game that they've played on Sunday, which again was a 3-game and 3-day Northern Road swing, which is hard for every team in this league. That was their only game against a team outside of a playoff spot right now. Yeah. They have played 2 against Battlefords, 2 against Melfort. They've played 2 against Estevan, 2 against Flin Flon, 1 against Nipawin. Their schedule has been ridiculously hard for the Kindersley Clippers, and they've picked up 3 wins in those games. It's not going to get easier in the kind of short term. They got Humboldt coming up this weekend, but you're going to start seeing them play, Yorkton, teams out of the playoff where Kindersley can try to turn this ship around. It's been such a hard schedule for them, and I just don't want them to get deterred because that game against Flin Flon they could have won, and then a 3-3 against Larange, no one is favored to win that game.
And a lot of games away from the West Central Event Center where they've been very good despite their records over the last couple of years.
New seats there too.
And those new seats look fantastic. All right, let's quickly move on. We only have a couple more minutes. Let's talk briefly. That Melfort-Larange game on Friday was nuts, but Melfort splits their games this weekend. Larange gets 3 out of a possible 4 points.
Man, Doug Johnson, wow. Man, oh man. 2-hour practices every day, and they've bought in, and they're playing the Doug Johnson way, and we're seeing it every single week. And
it's wild.
And we peeling back the curtain, it'll be a little tricky for us to get Melville players and people on the show because of the timing of their practices. But man, oh man, we can at least toot their horn because they have been awesome for Doug Johnson. I saw them from the first game of the preseason, and they did really, really well from there. And I'm sure it's just gotten better and better for the Melville Millionaires. But certainly the Melfort Mustangs aren't going to back down from anybody. And they're again, they're one of those teams that we talk about being in the upper echelon. So it's a big, big signature win for the Melville Millionaires. And yeah, look, Blevins and Kaminsky, they're always seeming like they have big battles. So again, Melfort, nothing to worry about.
No, nothing to worry about for Melfort. And then if we're just talking about the game that you saw the highlights for just before, that was wild. That was such a Sherwood Division game. If you ever talk about one, it had 8 different lead changes. Melfort 1-0. Larange ties it up. Melfort 2-1. Larange goes 3-2. Melfort goes 4-3. Absolutely wild. So those are the type of games you can also circle on a calendar when Larange plays Melfort or Flin Flon plays Larange. And it was super cool. But, I'm impressed. Just as Newsy said, they played the least amount of games in the SJHL. So they're going to have that schedule catch up to them at some point. And Melville doesn't look like they're going to slow down, though. It's just they're really impressive right now.
And to continue about your Larange point there, like a healthy Liam McInnes means that this Larange decor is scary when they comes to producing offense. Parker Layton, Rylan Silzer, a member of Jeremy's team over there on the fantasy league, and obviously, Liam McInnes being back in there, it's a group that has a lot of different guys. Kyle Graham, he can really play. Like you go down the list, Kevin Kaminski's got a bunch of guys in that rink there that it's really fitting for a defenseman to be that fourth guy, kind of jumping in, being a little creative. They all have huge shots. That's a big piece. But 2 goals in 2 games for Liam McInnes, who in our preview episode said I thought he could lead this league in scoring for a defenseman. I think we could probably just kind of anoint Noah Houle right now, unfortunately, for Liam McInnes, not for the Flin Flon Bombers. But my point is that they've got a really, really good offensive producing decor there in Larange, and especially with Liam McInnes back, it's even more deep now.
And if they just shore up, 30% of the defensive zone of what we're experiencing right now, they're one of the most dangerous teams because of how good their defensemen are offensively, and they got great forwards. You love Mason Bucher, Jacob Cassette, William Forsberg's been one of the best rookies this year. But they're allowing 5.15 goals per game, and they're letting up 44 shots against per game. Yeah. You got to limit those a bit. And then, of course, then Larange is now up again into the playoffs. So only thing I'm concerned about is if that doesn't kind of get corrected, because now we're 20% into the season, just over 20% into the season, right? It's a good chunk.
Yeah, for sure. And with Larange, you mentioned too, is, obviously Larange has always been so good at home. Yeah. And they're currently in the midst of, I think, a 6 or 7 game homestand. So you started off picking up 3 of a possible 4. But I got to say, this weekend, very rare you play a 3-3 in all home games. And that's what the Larange Ice Wolves are going to do this weekend. And then to your other point about Melville, saying their schedule is going to turn around, 4 games this week.
There it is,
They play Melfort tomorrow at home, and then they play Flin Flon, Larange on the weekend.
And that's what I believe when you talked to Doug Johnson, he said, we'll find out what we're made of in this little next 5-game stretch, right? Well, they won the first one.
Hey,
so that's a good start.
The first test, they have passed. A 4-3 win over the Melfort Mustangs. All right, that was the weekend that was in the SJHL. We're going to take a pause, and then when we come back, we are going to be joined by the head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos, Mr. Scott Barney. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
And now down to Bruce Buck.
It's time for Rockmania at Capital GMC. Get rates as low as 0.99% and savings up to $8,000 on a new GMC Sierra. Plus, used trucks with low rates and no payments for 90 days. It's Rockmania at Capital GMC in Regina.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Nugsy, Rory, and Jeromy. Thanks so much for joining us on this chilly October afternoon here in Saskatchewan, wherever you are watching across the SJHL social media platforms. But we're going to head to the video chat line where we're pleased to be joined by the head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos, Scott Barney. Scott, thanks so much for doing this today. We really appreciate it. How's it going?
No problem, Jeromy. Good to be on here and chat some hockey.
Well, Scott, first and foremost, before we talk about some hockey, we got to congratulate you on being named head coach of Team Canada West. Maybe just tell the viewers how you kind of found out the exciting news.
Yeah, I got a call from the GM, Nigel Dubé, and kind of let me know the news there. And obviously excited about the opportunity and to be able to coach the lead in Western Canada in Junior A. It's going to be a great experience as well. And obviously the end goal is to bring a gold medal back here to Saskatchewan.
I'm going to give you an easy question to start here, Barnes, because I know you. I want to lob you a softball and make you look good. You know, obviously there was a lot of talk about the fact that there was sort of 1.5 SJHL players on the team last year. Obviously, an injury that kind of derailed it a little bit. So obviously, Ethan Zilke was a big part of the team in the end last year. I guess just talk about how you plan to kind of weight the different leagues and how you kind of pick the team in the development camp based on, knowing, the AJs like this, the SJs like that, the MJs like that, because that's got to be something that's a real heavy topic for you.
Yeah, is that the softball or the hardball right now?
I was going to say, that's not easy.
I think that's more the 90-mile-an-hour fastball coming at me. But no, you know what? There's a lot of good players in all the leagues, right? And I think the biggest thing is having – you can only carry 5 2004 birth years. So I think that's a big thing that weighs and how you want to weight it depending on the other players in the other leagues. And like I said, there's only 5 spots for that. And then you got to go into the 2005s and the 2006 birth years, right? And all depends on the leagues and the quality of players, and I think that's good about this, right? Just having debate over different guys, or you see a player that fits in a different role, and maybe it's players that have more familiarity with each other, and I think that's a good one. If you can have a couple players that play together, I think you can lead to good success, right? And obviously. This year, unfortunately, there won't be a training camp. It'll just be a selection of 22 players. So it makes that really, really difficult on the staff. And Nigel's put a lot of work in here, already traveling. He's at the MJ Showcase this week, and he's been up in SAS to about, I think, 6 or 8 games minimum already. Obviously, the AJHL has had their showcase. So obviously evaluating every game. And I think that's a big thing here going forward. And the biggest thing is that that level of play, it's as fast as you're going to see at the junior A level.
Just on a personal note, what does it kind of mean to you to get the tap on the shoulder and represent Team Canada West, also representing the Humboldt Broncos and also representing the SJHL? I mean, you've done a great job with the Broncos in the SJHL, and now it's kind of getting that next opportunity for yourself. Yeah,
it's always great to be able to be recognized like that, and to coach your country in Canada is always an honor. Either as a player side, I'm sure they'll be honored as well. And it's also kudos to the organization here in Humboldt and also the SJHL. And obviously we're going to do our best here to try to bring a gold medal back here to Canada. And I don't believe Team West hasn't won for a long, long time.
Scott, I just wanted to ask, how was your previous experience, as an assistant coach for Team Canada West going to help you now be the head coach for the 2023 rendition of the team?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Jeromy. Back then, I believe we had a 40-man camp in Calgary, right? And then obviously got down to our 22 players. So that would be nice, right? To have all those players in one spot, and then you can evaluate a little more. You could probably get, a little more balance from the leagues there, like Nugsy was asking earlier. But you can bring some of the positives, some of the negatives from that, right? And I think I learned a lot through that experience on preparation, the level of play. Obviously, this year we don't have the BCHL players involved, so that takes out a lot of good high end talent as well. Just obviously the selection process will be even different this year. Like I said, we can only go with the 22-man roster. One practice, one exhibition game, and right into it. So obviously, definitely a lot of planning in the background here, and obviously trying to run your club team at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. That was actually leads into my next question, Barnes. I know, your club here off to a really good start. The Broncos are, and every year again, it seems like you're bringing another young guy and giving him an opportunity, and Matty Van Blericom and Connor Miller, and kind of the list goes on from back there. But I guess just talk about how you plan to kind of balance that. Obviously, you have Carter Hansen there to help you out, but how do you kind of balance your two responsibilities?
Yeah, obviously it's about opportunity, right? Obviously, I'm getting a great opportunity to go there and represent, the SJHL and Humboldt with Team Canada West, and also gives another opportunity for Carter here to step into the 3 games when we're away and different preparation that he'll get with this, right? So we're development league and development coaches, and I think this is huge for him as well, and we'll bring a couple assistant coaches in that meantime to help out as well, and some guys who have been around here and been involved with coaching as well will kind of help out here while we're away. But I have faith in Carter and the guys helping out, and the biggest thing is we have a great leadership in that dressing room this year, with obviously Cage Newens being our captain and all the other assistants, and I think it's been a big reason for our success here early on with such a young team.
Is there any possibility that you can recruit Rory McGouran to be a part-time assistant?
He'd be good. He's up in the booth. You have to wear 2 different headsets, I guess.
He's seen me in the player shootout auction, so the skates on the ice are not great for practice habits, I would assume. Strictly about the Broncos, Scott. We know that the offense has been prevalent for years under your sort of leadership with the team. The Broncos are consistently one of the top offensive teams. When you look at the team this year, through 20% of the season, you have to be happy with the way you guys have been playing defensively. You're first place in the league in goals against with 1.7. You're first place in the league in shots allowed with only allowing 25 shots. Motu's been brilliant, but collectively, defensively, you guys have been the best team in the league. What have you seen so far through 20% of the season?
Yeah, I think it comes down to a team effort on commitment to the defense. Obviously, we put a lot of time in practice on working on things, and obviously we're not as skilled as per se as the last couple teams we've had through here. But I think the dedication to the overall 200-foot game is there, right? And obviously, we're a young team. We're going to make mistakes, but I really like the way we skate and compete every night and give that honest effort. And when we're skating, we're a hard team to beat. But if we're not, then we could be a lot easier. And like you attested to, Moto's been great in net. Fisher when he's been called on as well. And I really like the overall makeup of the team here. And obviously, we haven't really made any moves to change it, and really like what's going on so far.
Yeah, for sure, Barnes. I just have one more Canada West question for you. Then, when a coach around the SJ maybe talks to you about this, or even if maybe you're at the SJMJ, and I guess that would be after. But anyways, if you were to have an opportunity to talk to an SJ kid who is eligible for this tournament, and you would say to them, "This is how you can." Give me a good, rapport. This is how, what I can look for. What advice would you give to a kid maybe watching this show right now to say, hey, look, like there's a coach in this league who's coaching that team. This is how I can maybe attract his attention.
Yeah, as everybody knows, when you get to the next level in higher competition, we kind of use it with our guys. They might, Division I schools can find 5 guys who score 20 goals, but what do you do different? How's your body language? How's your compete from shift to shift? How are things when things don't go your way, right? So I think those are 2 or 3 key points that we look for. I've chatted with most of the coaches here in the SJ. Obviously, dealing with some AJ and MJ things as well. And I think those are big things that, hey, you know what? Obviously, we have all those guys that can go out there in the power play, but we need some guys that go out there and kill some penalties. Obviously, you need big saves when needed. You need a D-man to go out there, and you know what? You can't have 6 skill guys who don't want to go anywhere near shot blocking, right? So you got to be able to be good in your special teams, both on the PK and the power play. But I think body language and to compete from shift to shift is a big one.
You mentioned kind of D1 and making the jump to the next level. The Broncos have helped promote a lot of players over the last 5 years to NCAA Division I. When you look at Connor Toohey, kind of a revelation with the Broncos and in this league, do you see the same material with the team's leading scorer right now, 18 points in 10 games?
Yeah, he's been great, right? And Connor skates. He's a student of the game. The biggest thing that people probably don't realize, they probably see those points there, but the way he defends with his stick is as good as I've seen in this league, right? And he uses his body position well. His stick's always out in the D side, and I'm actually surprised he doesn't really have a Division I right now, and I don't think it's going to be too long till he does get one. Just the way he plays the game and on both sides of it, and the way he's come on the power play, and his adaptability to be able to read different plays, and his coachability is huge going forward, and he's a kid that has high 90s in school marks, so he basically has Ivy League potential there for sure.
Last one from me, Barnes. We could talk all day. I'm sure we will. Yeah. Here's a much easier one for you. Honestly, an easier one for you. Boy, oh boy, Matthew Van Blaricom. You pick him out from AAA middle of last year, and the development arc from the outside looks like it's just nonstop going up and up and up. How good can this kid be? Like, you've been in the NHL, you were an NHL player, you've seen what that caliber is like. What is this? What is the limit in the sky for Matthew Van Blaricom?
Yeah, I think the limit is there. I mean, the sky is the limit for him. The way he shoots the puck. You know what? If you want to try to run him over, he'll come meet you at the corner. Doesn't matter how big you are. He's strong on the puck. He's probably averaging, I would guess, middle 12 to 14 shot attempts per game. And you know what? If you can start mixing some things up and dishing pucks off, I think it's going to be really scary. But just his compete level and the way he can go east-west with the puck, which is something that isn't done too often at this level. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear his name called in Las Vegas at the NHL draft this coming season.
Scott, it's time for Rory's rapid fire. I got about 5 questions. Quick answers. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
The first one might be a fastball, but I'm hoping I am going to get an answer out of you. Obviously, the Broncos have had a lot of D1 commits that, promoted to the next level, either went to college early or the USHL. Congratulations about that, of course. But if you could hypothetically bring one eligible player back to help the team this year, who would you pick?
Just one, Barnes.
Just one of those guys?
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to bring Connor McGrath, who led the league in points there a couple years ago.
Connor McGrath, great answer. Okay. Did they actually used to play or sing the Barney theme song in opposition arenas to kind of taunt you or get you off your game? And where did this happen?
Very true. And it was when I was playing Major Junior for the Pete. So you go into a rink and I'd be in the box for a lazy hook and penalty or something, and then they would play that one in there, and good laugh for everybody in the stands.
If you were to be a dinosaur, what kind of dinosaur would you be?
Good one. Well, I'm not a vegetarian, so maybe Tyrannosaurus Rex, maybe.
You got the size for it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
An arm wrestling tournament between the coaches. Who's coming out on top?
Oh, probably Carter for sure.
Carter's coming out. Who'd you score your first NHL goal against?
First regular season NHL goal was against Dwayne Rollison. He was playing for Minnesota at the time.
And finally, who is your favorite SJHL broadcaster from Ontario?
Oh, let me think. It's the guy who can barely get his head probably in your studio there today after 3 wins. Nibsy's great though.
I'm good.
Scott, well, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time, and once again, congratulations on being named head coach at Team Canada West.
Thanks, guys. Keep up doing great work there.
Thanks, Scott. That is head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos, Scott Barney.
Big.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the beginning of the show, he had a little extra pep in his step today.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a good segue because we're moving on to his segment. All right, Noogs, it's time for Noogs and Notes.
There you go.
It's all you.
Thank you very much. Noogs and Notes. Do you still have your Neugebauer wrapper somewhere? Maybe? No? Okay.
I got my full bar, saving it for the trip
Rory's
home,
saving there you go. He's got the Neugebauer. There's the box over there. We're still waiting for you guys to sponsor us, by the way. Anyways, we'll move on with that. WHL Cup update. Lots of SJHL draft picks for Team Saskatchewan there. Team Sask. Bronze medalists after beating British Columbia in the bronze medal game. Yesterday, Dane Boyker, the Humboldt kid, 6 goals over the tournament, scored 2 in the bronze medal game when it mattered. He was really, really impressive over that event. And Rory, very, very happy, I'm sure, that your beloved Team Manitoba won the gold medal for the first time ever when their Rink Academy goaltender Peyton Shore made 53 stops to beat the team that I thought was going to win, Alberta, in the gold medal game in a shootout, if you can believe it, there at Red Deer. So congratulations to Manitoba, and congratulations to Ryan McDonald, the coach there for Team Saskatchewan, and Brett Pilkington, of course, the Junior A Hounds coach and GM, who was an assistant on that team for their bronze medal. It's always awesome that these events happen, and congratulations to Rory.
I will say I did grow up in Manitoba, but the majority of my hockey broadcasting career has taken place in Saskatchewan. If any of them would have won, I would have been very, very happy.
But you're a very proud Winnipegger, so sort of.
Bombers and Jets, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, anyways. Yeah. Jacob Faith, who's sitting over there, director of marketing for the SJHL, was very happy again that we continue this theme of shouting out a different sponsor in the league and explaining what they do. So this week it is Cantera Seeds, and as you can probably guess from the name, they make seeds based in Winnipeg. Speaking of Winnipeg, they're excellent developers of canola, wheat, oats, barley, pulses, and specialty varieties like canary and flax seeds. I had flax seed in my granola this morning. I don't know if it was from Cantera Seeds, but it was delicious. And they proudly sponsor our championship league trophy very enthusiastically. So my favorite of that list is canola because I like to fry things, and it's oil. What do you guys like from that list? What was your favorite from that list?
Yeah, tough to take away canola.
Yeah. Big fan of canola oil. Justin Close. Former Kindersley Clippers goaltenders closing in on the shutout record at the University of Minnesota. He shut out North Dakota in North Dakota. That is not an easy thing to do. Boy, oh boy, has he been impressive over 2.5 seasons as the starter for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Boy, was he incredible for the Kindersley Clippers for Clayton Jardine a bunch of years ago. And they're hoping for the same, obviously, from Justin Falk and Cody Jamin. But Justin Close was incredible, and he's still incredible for the University of Minnesota. And the last point I have here for Noogs and Notes is Sask Finest this past week. Dakota Odgers, the referee from Spy Hill, Saskatchewan near Yorkton, got a lot of wonderful positive feedback. Really, really appreciate it. Jeff Odgers, his dad, longtime National Hockey Leaguer, gave me great quotes as well. Dakota seems like a terrific young man, and even the Spy Hill local newspaper printed the article in their piece. So thank you to everybody who's been kind to read my piece, and thank you to the SJHL for having my writing on. And I got a new one coming out this Wednesday on a player this time, so stay tuned to figure it out.
Sneak peeks of where we should be keeping our eyes and ears?
Hey, you
or
want to
is that
tease
it?
us
Just
what
a player?
player? Yeah, what player?
Well, you can't tell what player. It's
okay, tease us. Give us a hint.
The hint is he plays for a former NHLer.
There you go.
There's your hint.
Okay,
that's a good hint. That's a good hint.
You know what? Putting you on the spot, that was a very good hint.
Thank you. That's your Noogs and Notes.
All right, that's your Noogs and Notes. We're going to take a pause. When we come back, we're going to hand out some weekly awards and much, much more. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, Your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA and, respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Had a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Nugsy, Rory, and Jeromy. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it wherever you are watching across the SJHL social media platforms. But it is time to hand out some weekly awards, so let's get right into it, guys. And let's start, Nugsy, with SGEU MVP of the week, somebody you touched on earlier and somebody we saw on Wednesday, and that being Max Manette of the Weyburn Red Wings. Phenomenal week.
Yeah, and he is such an example that you can be responsible in your own end and play a hard, heavy game and still contribute offensively, scored a hat trick there in Yorkton. That line there with Jerome Maharaj and Jackson Ruthven really clicking, and great leader, great captain, gives it all 100%, like honestly, for Weyburn every time he's out there. Very happy to see Max Manette get rewarded for all his hard work.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, saw on the screen, 5 goals, 2 assists in 3 games. So congratulations to Max Manette. Moving on, Super U Defenseman of the Week, Rory. You touched on him earlier. He's leading the entire SJHL right now in points. And we were blown away in our group chat yesterday that he hasn't won an award yet this year, and that being Noah Hula of the Flin Flon Bombers. Yeah,
and I'm surprised. I don't know, maybe Nugsy has got a text from head coach Mike Reagan that he hasn't won any award, and he has 22 points in 12 games. I think it's just how the weeks have played out, but that's how consistent Noah Houle has been, that he hasn't won an award, but he leads the league in points by the blue liner. Another 4 this week, 22 points in 12 games. What can you say about him? He'll, front runner right now to win Defenseman of the Year. And his first Defenseman of the Week is crazy, but yeah, there's probably many more in his future.
So congratulations to Noah Houle of the Flin Flon Bombers, Super U Defenseman of the Week. Moving back to Bourgault, Forward of the Week, Nugsy. We mentioned his impact with the Notre Dame Hounds in his first 3 games. Cole Wyron has just fit in like a glove.
He's fit in like a glove. Honestly, his attitude has been terrific. He can really, really score goals. He scored 2 in Carlisle against the Estevan Bruins. He scored 1 against Weyburn. Wasn't on that picture you see, actually. I believe Eric Kale made the save right there. But anyways, he was very, very good and really made that line with Matteo Speranza, Carson Bayless. They're really ticking. And Bayless and Speranza could also have won this award too. But Cole Wyron has the 3 goals, so we gave it to him. And just, really, really brought up the whole level of that line. And you could even argue like the whole forward core. He's been absolutely terrific on and off the ice for Notre Dame so far.
So congratulations to Cole Wyron, Borgo forward of the week. Moving on, SaskTel goalie of the week, Rory, somebody you saw this weekend, and he's been excellent since returning from the Western League, that being Justin Merrick of the Balfords North Stars.
Yeah, he was an absolute wall. 35 of 36 in Game 1, stopped 40 of 41 in Game 2. It's pretty crazy when you got a goaltender coming into a weekend series with a .966 save percentage and raises it both games. A .972 in Game 1, a .976 in Game 2. You can see on average there. His goals against is under 1. His save percentage is over .970. He's been absolutely unbelievable since he came back to the Battlefords. And just look at his record in his now 2 seasons. He's got 19 wins and 2 losses, and then 1 loss in a shootout. He's won 19 out of 22 games for the Battlefords North Stars. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that is. It is pretty good. You're right. So congratulations again to Justin Merrick. Also, he defends his title of SaskTel goalie of the week. He also won it last week as well. Speaking of goalies, we stuck with goalies, Nugsy, for Saskatchewan player of the week, and that being James Venn of the Melfort Mustangs.
Yeah, he continues to win. He's got 9 wins on the season in total, and found a way to make enough saves against L'Orange and win that game, and then had a night off. Finally, we talked to Trevor Blevins. He's not going to get too many nights off over the course of the season, but he's been terrific when in the net for that Melfort Mustangs team. And we forget, as good as this Melfort Mustangs team is, their D-corps is very, very aggressive, very offensive. Trevor Blevins wants his D-corps to jump in. Chase Freetmore is right in there. Cam Imai, he's right in there. Leith Olofsson has license to be behind the other team's net when he feels the calling. So there's going to be some chances against Melfort. So, James Venn has been there when called upon, and again, he was there for them again this week, and he's a big reason why the Melfort Mustangs won't be pushed over by anybody in the SJHL.
Yeah, and currently leads the SJHL among goaltenders and wins this year with 9. And finally, Rory, Direct West Rookie of the Week, somebody that's been a big boost for the L'Orange Ice Wolves, that being William Forsberg.
Yeah, second place in the league in rookie scoring now, 13 points, 13 games. Can do really everything for the L'Orange Ice Wolves. Really great addition onto that top line for them. But another week where, over a point per game, he had 4 points, in 5 games. No, 5 points in 3 games.
There we go.
There it is. Thank you. But yeah, I really liked what William Forsberg brought in as a 19-year-old. L'Orange, one of the older teams in the league, but he's fit in really, really nice for them, and a great week for him. Also his first Rookie of the Week, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
For sure. Congratulations to all 6 award winners. And of course, if you want to learn more about all 6, you can head to sjhl.ca and read the article. Now, before we go, guys, we're going to play a little round of buy it or sell it. This is the second time, I do believe, second or third time we played it this year. But a couple of really interesting questions we will start with. One being, will there be, so over under essentially, 3.5 defensemen with a point per game to conclude this season, but they have to minimum play 25 games. So do you think there's going to be more than 3.5 or less than 3.5? Nugsy, you want to go first?
So will there be over 3.5 D-men that have a point per game or better?
In 25
games played. Minimum.
I'm gonna. So 4.
Yeah.
I think there's 4 in there. I think Noah Houle is well on his way. Tui's on his way. Olofsson, Freetmore, Carson Olsen in Battlefords, Felix Allard and Estevan. Liam McInnes if he can stay healthy. I think there's plenty. So I'm gonna buy it.
I was going to buy it. I thought we had the line at 2.5 where I was going to buy it. I just want to bring you back through the last 6 seasons.
Okay.
The most there's ever been is 2. And that's only happened twice.
Yeah.
That happened back in 2017-18 with Josh McDougall and Locke Morrison. And then I believe, did it just happen last year as well. Liam McInnes, and I'm forgetting who else it was now on the top. Tyler Newer. So McInnes played 28 games that season. He was hurt, but he was over a point per game.
Yeah.
4 is, I think, too high right now. I'd say there'd be 3, but just based off trend over the last 7 years, I know the game is changing and these teams are starting to get defensemen jumping up into the rush. I would love to buy it at 2.5. 3.5 is too high for me. I'm going to sell it, and I think there's going to be 3 that do it.
I think it's close. I think it's close for sure. I kind of agree.
It's a great
with
line by the bookmakers.
It's very close,
great
considering when you look at how many players right now amongst defensemen that are a point per game or more. Being, it looks like, just looking at the top 20, there's 5 right now.
There's a lot, yeah.
But does that sustain over? We've only seen 20% of the season, so to be determined.
You're not going to make a selection?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's going to be 3. I think it's 3. I think, 3.5. 3.5 is a tough one. It is a good line. I think it's going to be 3. Okay, moving on. Over under 1.5 SJ players on Team Canada West. Of course, last year there were 2.
Oh my
Over
God.
under 1.5. 1.5. Well, here's a spoiler. There can't be a push.
Look.
No, you can't.
I don't know how half a player,
half a person.
I'm gonna prep. The tough part is you heard Scott Barney talk about it. There's no camp.
Yeah.
They just got to take 22 players.
It's really tough.
Yeah. I'm gonna sell it, and I'm even gonna say his name. Matthew Van Blitko.
Yeah. I mean,
I love so many 06s and 05s in this league. Don't get mad at me, anybody.
I mean, Ronan Buckberger's got to be on the bubble. Alexei Silvestri, I know you can only carry 4 2004s or 5 2004s. Silvestri's probably on the bubble. It's going to be close. You know what? I'll buy it. I'll say there'll be 2.
I'm going to buy it too.
I hope
just to be optimistic. Just to be optimistic, I'm going to say buy it. Okay, finally, last year, the Battleford's North Stars had 284 goals for. Rory mentioned it earlier. So my question to you guys is, does the Flin Flon Bombers score more goals than last year's Battleford's North Stars, who were second place in the entire country last year?
Well, I know Nugsie's not great at math, so I will get the math out of the way right now.
Okay.
Kind of you.
They are averaging 5.92 per game.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Just below 6. On average, over the course of a 56-game schedule, they are on pace to score 331 goals. So in order to beat the Battleford's North Stars, their goals per game can actually drop from here to the rest of the season from 5.92 to 4.83. They have to average.
You really did the math.
They have to average 4.83 goals per game over the next 44 games.
Okay.
That is still high.
That is high.
But I think this team can do it. I'm going to buy it. I say somewhere in the 290, 295 range.
Nugsy?
Yeah, I agree. I'm buying it all day and all night long. I mean, look, the Battleford's North Stars had 4 guys. They were a deep team. Yeah. We all believed in them. They went far. We've talked a lot about the Battleford's North Stars from last year. But they had 4 guys that were sort of in that category of game breaker. This Flin Flon team has 8, 9.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to add more. That's the way Mike Reagan has approached this season. So, yes, if they score 300, it would not surprise me. There's going to be some garbage time games in Flin Flon at the Whitney this year. Some teams are going to go up there and be like, this is no fun. I want to go home. And Flin Flon's going to be like, great. I love it. Give me more. We're going to put up 9, 10, 11. That's what's going to happen at the Whitney this year. Enjoy it up there if you can, because that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so we're all going to agree that we're going to buy it. What if we set the line at 300?
Oh, that's right around where I am with them.
If we set the line at 300, would you buy it?
No, I'm selling it.
You would sell it?
I'm selling
so
it.
So you think they're going to be between 284 and 300?
They're going to be between 284 and 300. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a mid 290s. Yeah.
I'm still buying it. I'd still buy it at 300.
You're going to break the 300 goal mark? That's just incredible.
You know what? I didn't want to go for a full sweep both sides of it. So I'll take the buy it. All right. That's buy it or sell it. Let's take a look at the upcoming week, the first few games of the week coming up in the SJHL. Of course, today's an off day, but teams are right back at it tomorrow, and should be a good one at the Cage as the Flin Flon Bombers visit the Nipawin Hawks. Nipawin playing their 4th game in 5 days, worth mentioning in that one. And then the Melville Millionaires play host to the Melfort Mustangs. Of course, the second half of that home and home, which Melville won on Saturday by a score of 4-3. So that should be a very entertaining contest at, I'm going to say, the Vault. I know they've switched to the Bank. I still call it the Vault in Melville. And then on Wednesday, just the one game, as the Estevan Bruins look to try and get back in the win column, playing the Humboldt Broncos. Before we go, guys, just your final thoughts going into the week coming up in the SJHL. Noogsy, your final thoughts.
Every time the last number of years we've said the Estevan Bruins are dead. Someone get a funeral going. The Bruins are done. Every single time they come up with a signature game, a signature day that we're like, we didn't see that coming. And guess what? Braden Klamosko and the Battlefords North Stars are going to Affinity Place on October the 27th. Jacob Faith was in the building. I called it with Jared and Roden Fry a couple of years ago when the Battlefords North Stars went in and ruined the party for Jason Tatarnik and the Estevan Bruins when they were flying with their Centennial Cup team, and that was a wonderful hockey game, a 1-0 Battlefords win, if my memory correct. Yeah, Jacob's nodding. He's younger than me, so his memory's a lot sharper. Look, not saying I'm guaranteeing an Estevan win on Friday night at Affinity Place, but like every time we say the Estevan Bruins are dead, Jason Tatarnik blows life into them somehow. And they're going to be great, and they're going to be fine. And that game on Friday, I also circled that game at the EPA on Wednesday that Rory has the joy of calling. But Friday night at Affinity Place, Battleford's in town, is going to be sweet.
Well, it's boring for the listeners, but I guess it's fitting since I did the same thing to him last week. That is exactly what I was going to say. Estevan's been struggling, and I think it's a big deal now. We're 20%, right? They're 3-5-2. They've lost 3 games in a row. I want to see them go into Humboldt and see what Estevan's like there. I want to see them against the North Stars at home and see what they do this week. It's 2 big games for the Bruins. Yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth, but that is exactly what I was looking at as well.
And I think for me, the thing I'm keeping an eye on is Melville. Play Melford at home on Tuesday, and then Flin Flon, LaRange.
That's a good pick, too.
It's a big 4 games. And
Put up or shut up time. Yeah.
Noogsy said it best right there. So lots of great action in the SJHL coming up this week. So get your Flow Hockey subscription if you are not going, of course, to your local rink to check out the action. But, of course, if you want to stay up to date with everything in the SJHL this year, follow us across our social medias. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're well over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for everybody that typed in their Gmail account, signed in, and hit subscribe, because it's just that easy. So do it if you haven't done it, and you'll stay up to date with everything in the SJHL this year. And, of course, a big thank you to all of our great sponsors here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Of course, UPL is our presenting sponsor of SJHL Weekly, SJHL Insider, SJHL Draft Show, SJHL Playoff Preview Show, every show that I can think of for the SJHL, and then, of course, all of our other great sponsors for our shows: Bourgault, Cantera Seats, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western Nutrient, RBC Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thank you so much for your support. Without your support, these shows would not be possible. Lots of great action in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this week, so be sure to get out to your local rink, support your local team. And if not, of course, you can get your Flow Hockey subscription and tune in to the action. For Jamie Neugebauer, for Rory McGouran, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Enjoy the games this week, everyone.